truly grateful to you for having given me this opportunity to speak my heart and put my own grief and my loss before. Thank you.
I request Professor Raghupan to deliver the lecture. Mr. Jeevan Kumar, who is the convener of this lecture, and Vasan, who is very close to us, and whatever she was narrating about the relation with Sankaran, their memories are very fresh, because literally I knew whatever she was saying, because several times Sankaran would share those experiences, particularly the friendship of Sankaran and Kanagaran were rare friendship. One died before, but I think rarest, I would say, friendship between Kanagaran and Sankaran, whose personalities were so different. But yet there was something binding between both of them. And as Vasan said, one of the reasons why Sankaran was close to this family, but that Sankaran always liked somebody who treated him as an equal. And in this family, everybody treated him as an equal. With Vasant, Kalpana, Chitra, even Ramya and Kirtana, all of them treated him as equal. That was something which always he thought was very valuable, because equality, between children, friends. And he also liked the family because he saw this feminist assertion, which he very much liked, that because for him, liberation of women is also one of the concerns, although it doesn't come out so distinctly, but it was always there. And he would talk about the family, because I spent 10 years, of course, we spent as members of Committee of Concerned Citizens. But last 2 years of Sankaran, particularly 2004 to 2006, when we were drafting this report, there are 3 reports, one in 2002, one in 2004, one in 2006. And Sankaran always thought that whatever work the Committee of Concerned Citizens has done, it should be communicated. Whatever work we are doing, it should be communicated to the people at large. That was one of his democratic convictions, that our work is something where it has to be communicated to the large section of the people. Because he thinks peace talks were possible because of the massive support from the society. And of course, speaking about Sankaran, there are any number of things one can speak about it. One can talk endlessly about Sankaran. Not only my own personal experience, but one of my research scholars who has done her PhD on Sankaran, she has collected so many exceptional stories about Sankaran from the files, not from Sankaran. Sankaran was very non-cooperative. He always told her what is there to work. Why your supervisor asked to do this work? There is nothing that I have done. I have done that what a civil servant is supposed to do. But this girl was after him. And one advantage was she was a girl. Second, she was also Dalit. And his weakness for the Dalits is one thing where you couldn't say no to her. And this girl, of course, he not cooperated throughout. But at the end, one day he said, all right, you are not leaving me. Now she said, sir, whom should I invite? Go and interview. Sankaran gave 20 names of IAS officers who worked with him or who know him. He asked her to come next day and he said, I will contact all these officers, fix the appointments, you go and interview them. Next day month he passed away. That's what has happened. This scholar would not publish her thesis. She still thinks it's incomplete. A thesis or a book on Sankaran should be complete. And whenever I ask her to publish the work, but she would not do that. But she collected one of the stories which wasn't narrated from the files. There are 4 chapters on Sankaran. One is his role as a district collector in Nellore, another as a social welfare secretary, third chief secretary of Tripura, fourth secretary to Government of India. She has taken up the files, all the files, and she has taken the diary of Sankaran in Tripura, and wherever he has gone, whatever was written in diary, she followed. She went to those places, met those tribals, and collected their memories of Sankaran. And there is an interesting episode that restoration of goddess. Restoration of goddess. In Tripura, this conflict between the tribals and the Bengalis, it's very, intense. Once the goddess of the tribal disappeared, and tribals would attach so much of importance to culture. Bela is here. They think that their culture is their life. And disappearance of goddess because somebody stole it. And that would lead to terrible riots. That's enough. One single incident is enough to trigger the riots. But what Sankaran has done is he went to the tribals and said, we will restore your goddess, have trust in us. But he enjoyed enormous respect because he stayed in a number of tribal villages personally, slept in their houses. So they had a lot of respect for the chief secretary. Then he said, we'll restore this entire goddess, but have trust in us. And he and the chief minister called the, an artist, asked the tribals, how does their goddess look like? Because nobody knows. And they went on describing. And the artist started, drawing the pictures of that goddess. And finally, the tribal said, yes, this is our goddess. Our goddess looks like this. Then they got the goddess made of gold. And they have taken this, gold, goddess, and both chief minister and chief secretary publicly handed over this goddess to the tribals. This is totally a creative way of, solving a conflict. Now, how an officer who understood the psychology of the tribals responded, and fortunately had a chief minister. Harsh was talking about Chennai, but fortunately Sankaran was with again an extraordinary chief minister of this country. When I was doing a little work on Tripura, I went to Rupen Chakravarti and introduced myself as friend of Sankaran. He said, are you friend of Sankaran? I said, yes, sir. Do you know who is Sankaran? What is Sankaran? I said, what do you think, sir? He's a Naxalite. This is what he said. He's a real Naxalite. I was taken aback that a chief minister calling Sankaran a real Naxalite. And Sankaran also had extremely good memories of Rupen Chakravarti. And Rupen Chakravarti's situation was that he was removed from the party, CPM party. And he had no savings, he had no bank account. And he was given one room in some sort of hostel-like thing, and food and all that. The party maintained him here because he had no other sources of income, having been the chief minister for a very long time. And when my research scholar went she told a long interviews with him. At the last day she said, asked her, do you get fellowship? She said, yes sir, I get UGC fellowship. Can you give me some money? He wanted 250 rupees. And of course she had money, but she was shocked. She gave me money and said, sir, why see this situation? He said, look, that some poor tribals come to me sometimes, ask for some help, and I am not in a position to say no. So I take some money from friends, and whenever they come, I give some money to them.
Yeah.
See, this is Sankaran. And with that experience, in fact, Sankaran kept money with every sub-collector. Some money free, that's a discretion of it has no procedure and anything. Any tribal coming to the sub-collector asking for money, straight away they have to give money to them. No questions asked. I was staying with one of the sub-collectors who was also a student. I went to Tripura, so he said, sir, come stay with me. So one day morning we were talking, then one lady came there, she was standing, he went and gave money. I said, what's that? He said, sir, Sankaran kept money with every sub-collector. And whenever a tribal comes, he left instruction that tribals will never come and ask money if they are not in need. If they are desperate, only they come. Just you have to believe and give money. So this chap went and gave some money and said, this is Sankaran, kept money with every sub-collector to help any woman or any tribal coming. Because I think Sankaran was that way, very exceptional, human being, exceptional civil servant also, as Harshmandar said. Sankaran also was very humorous. A lot of humor. That part of Sankaran is something very amusing to observe him. Now I was a dean, university, I had a van. And sometimes when I had gone that van, he used to have a lot of jokes on my van. Dean has come in a big van and he would go on commenting on my van. But one day we were going to a movie and Vanamala was sitting and she was continuously telling the driver, go left, go slow, vehicle is coming. Then Sankaran said, when I wrote, a sort of, my remembrance. So I said, it's the fragrance that human beings, it's a human fragrance. They leave that fragrance behind. And perhaps one of the rarest things of Sankaran was the convictions and moral power that he exercised. He exercised enormous moral power. I think our societies, like Indian society, it responds more to the moral power than the formal administrative power. I think it's the culture of this society where it responds to the moral power. That's the reason politicians are also afraid of Sankaran. Several ministers are afraid of Sankaran because of the power that he wielded. I know any number of ministers, who would say that, when Sankaran worked, what is the, experience they had with Sankaran. When N.T. Ramarao wanted to write a letter to the Vice Chancellors, Sankaran was the Education Secretary for a short while. And N.T. Ramarao said that Sankaran write letters to all the Vice Chancellors to implement this program. Sankaran said, we can't write letters to the Vice Chancellors. No, Chief Minister is not supposed to write letters to the Vice Chancellor. He said, why? We have appointed the Vice Chancellor. Sankaran said, no, see, we also appoint judges. We also play a role in appointment of judges. Can you write a letter to Chief Justice? NTR said, no, we can't write. The Vice Chancellors have a quasi-judicial power. They're the judges. They're self-governing institution. Of course, NTR had enormous respect for Sankaran. So he said, okay, drop it. If we should not write, he didn't say, I'm Vice Chancellor. I'm Chief Minister. How come that after all, who is Vice Chancellor? Now the situation completely changed. But those were the days when really, the days when politicians really, responded. But coming to peace talks, which is supposed to be the main subject of, today's lecture, Again, I would say that after he superannuated, of course, he could have got any assignment, given the reputation of Sankaran and given the nature of politics at that point of time. He would have easily got any assignment. But this girl reports in her thesis that he worked till 12 o'clock on the day when he was superannuated, 12 o'clock night. And exactly at 12 o'clock he handed over the keys. Next day morning he came to Hyderabad. He did not stay even one day more in his... and of course, the house that he took when he was a secretary, Yugandhar once narrated that Yugandhar was the director of National Academy and he was staying with... he wanted to stay with Sankaran. It was a section officer's type of house. He didn't take the house that a secretary should get. And Yugandhar says there were no facilities, nothing in the house, and there was no water. Yugandhar said there was no water. I got up in the morning, there is no water. As Sankaran said in the toilet, water comes, you just wash, and then go to the office and come back. When water comes, you can take bath. And Yugandhar, of course, said even that few hours he spent, he was completely uncomfortable. This was Yugandhar said. He felt very uncomfortable. And then Yugandhar said, sir, since you are very busy, he took some pretext and went to AP Bhavan. And then Yugandhar said, the minute I moved from Sankaran's place to AP Bhavan, I thought I had gone to a paradise. Because the way he lived, and without water, without any facilities, no comforts. See, this is Sankaran. This is what made him, what he was. And today we remember him so fondly because of this extraordinary way that he lived. Not only way he lived. Now, once he came back to Hyderabad, violence and counter-violence, the cycle of violence was reaching much higher points. In fact, lots of killings on both the sides. And this is what disturbed Sankaran, his moral sensitivity, and he that when he was kidnapped, obviously, he also tried to understand. But that kidnap, he would narrate in a very amusing way. He would not have anger or anything, but he would narrate. And one episode which I never forget is that when they were kidnapped, there was a point when the media announced that the commandos are arriving from Delhi to kill the kidnappers. The media announced. Then the Naxals told Sankaran that if they are coming to kill us, we will kill and die. And those couple of hours when they were waiting with ropes and all that, 7 officers have all gone because of their respect for Sankaran. Sankaran, when he was narrating this episode, he said, once when they announced that they will kill us, he said he lost the balance of mind. And he said for about an hour, the mind was debating the room which was occupying in the transit house here in Hyderabad. Actually, the mind was arguing whether the lock will be opened by calling getting a key, or the lock will be broken. And the mind was continuously debating, they will come and break the lock. Then mind saying, no, they will not break the lock. They will call a proper person and make a duplicate key and open the... So Sankaran said, I just don't know, but my mind completely got into this cycle of whether they key or whether they break. Now I said, sir, maybe that mind was debating in a way that whether this episode will end up with a proper opening of the door or whether it will break. Maybe, that's how the mind was trying to reconcile with that deep, intense crisis moment of his life. But of course, the Naxals, once the government announced that Kanaviran will come to rescue then they became free and asked him to give a lecture on 18th Bromade. And Sankaran gave a lecture on 18th Bromade. Because that was the time when they were debating whether the fascism will come and all that. And they wanted to know what is this 18th Bromade. And I was also surprised, Sankaran gave a lecture on 18th Brahma to these Naxals. This is the intellectual competence also, and his reading, his scholarship. He was extremely competent. Sometimes, if you ask a GO, he will recall from his memory. The GOs, this is also power. See, when there is a minister, if there is a secretary who can help them in the proper rules, that is the, it adds to the efficiency of the man. He never wanted recognition for his work. It was all anonymous. Whatever work he was doing, he would never tell. He will give the entire credit to the minister or his officer, but never take the credit, nor would ever tell that what he has done, unless, because we were drafting this document from morning to evening, so there are certain free moments. That was the time when he used to share some of these experiences, because we took a little off and then again start, writing, this entire preparing this report. Now, this disturbance that he felt, his moral conscience and, that human sensibilities, were disturbed. And he said we should do something about this violence and the cycle of violence and counter-violence. That's how he started meeting people, sharing concern. And one of the High Court judges, while dealing with the encounter, made a observation. Why not, Naxals and government talk? Why not do some negotiation? Why this problem is not, resolved? And I think that has opened up that this possibility, judge at least feels that there is a possibility of, some sort of negotiation. And that, of course, there are several other factors perhaps contributed, but this particular comment also, I think struck Sankaran's imagination. Then he started meeting people, and since he was very close to Kanna, and Kanna was, almost, a sort of father figure for the Naxal movement at one stage. And then, of course, he started sharing with all of us. And this committee of concerned citizens, when I was writing this report, this lecture, I could recapitulate how this committee was formed. I was asking Jeevan, how even I was asking Professor DN, that DN, how this committee was formed. But Sankaran, in the report, he said it emerged. How it emerged? Having been a member of the committee, I would not exactly say that we didn't come here one day, we call meeting, and then we say that we should come form a committee of consensus. No, it didn't happen as a formal process. It happened as an informal process. And then all the people, who had some concerns, he, I think, discussed. And then, he collected these 15 members of the committee of consensus. This was also very interesting. In the year 1996, he took an initiative which resulted in the formation of the Committee of Concerned Citizens. The process of the formation of the committee is something that I am not able to recapitulate. The members include, of course, Sankaran as a convener, Potturi Venkateshwar Rao, a highly traditional man in the personal practice, very traditional. Even when we went and meeting the squad, early morning they wanted to japam. And then he asked me, will they object if I do japam? I said, no sir, you can do this. You should not have any objection. You think I can do? You do it. Why would they object? I am sure that they will not object. So he performed his puja and all that in the early morning. But Naxal said, no, that is his freedom. Now they didn't say anything, why you have performed puja and all that. But he commanded a lot of moral respect in the society among the journalists. He was a senior journalist, he was an editor for a very long time. The entire world of journalism, respects him. Perhaps there are very few journalists in the Telugu speaking land who command as much of respect as Potturi. He played a very critical role in the talks. Next to Sankaran, I think Potturi played a very important role. Then of course Kanna. And see, the problem, as Vasant was telling, Kanna, is sometimes can be very harsh. So sometimes I wish Sankaran, he would say something. So one day I asked Sankaran, sir, now and then Kanna is becoming, very harsh, and then Sankaran said, there is no single reason why Kanna should be unhappy with him. I have not done anything which displeases. There is no reason. But he is angry with the bureaucracy. He is angry with the bureaucracy. And he thinks me as a symbol of bureaucracy. When he shouts, I am thinking that he is shouting at the bureaucracy, which I also don't like. The way Sankaran reconciled and understood Kanna in the larger context man as an individual, shouting or individual anger. This is the elasticity of a personality. That how somebody understands the anger of the other. Now, but any compliment to Kanna, always he considered a compliment to him. He one day narrated that he went along with Kanna to a doctor, and Kanna went inside, Sankaran was sitting outside, some two poor women. I believe one woman was telling the other woman, he is a poor people's lawyer. Sankaran was so excited that this woman saying that he is a poor people's lawyer, and some woman from a rural area. This he thought was a compliment to him. See, this is the type of person Sankaran was. Then of course it included Professor D. Narasimha, who is very much present here. He is also a people's economist and with deep concerns. And of course Poturi became chairman of the AP Press Academy. Then there was a Chandrasekhar Rao, one of my colleagues. He picked up him. Professor D.N., myself and Chandrasekhar Rao, we are all from University of Hyderabad. Professor K. Jaishankar, former Vice Chancellor of Kakatiya University, who became an ideologue of the Telangana state. Now there is a university named after him. So Jaishankar and B. Janardhan Rao, who worked on tribal, his doctor thesis was on tribal studies. Janardhan was one, and Bojja Tarakam. Tarakam was almost a bridge between the revolutionary movement and Dalit movement. Highly respected, leader, highly respected by the Dalits. And the Tarakam, who is a senior advocate also. Then one Janardhan Reddy, who is a MLA, former MLA from Karimnagar, but man of high integrity. So one politician in the CCC, whom Sankaran picked up, that politician is a man of high integrity. So he thought that there should be somebody like Janardhan, although many times he didn't understand what was happening. But he thought Sankaran would do anything good. That's all, it's a total belief in Sankaran. But Janardhan Reddy, when Naxals came for peace talk, he presented Gandhi's charaka, to Naxals, because he thought that self-sufficiency or whatever, that India should become self-sufficient, and charkha he thought was something the activists would like. Then Akhileshwari, who was a journalist and working for Deccan Herald, and Kodandram, professor of political science and a human rights activist. He was with us in the APCLC. Now he became one of the prominent leaders of the Telangana separate, because he was the chairman of the Political Joint Action Committee with all political parties, and academic being the chairman of Political Joint Action Committee. And then Jeevan, of course, Jeevan was one who will work out the logistics. If you have to go somewhere, how to fix a time and all that, he would do a lot of groundwork. Sankaran would tell, and Jeevan will carry. But for him it would have been very difficult for us to carry on. And then of course, Jeevan has been a human rights activist, now the entire state knows about his work. Then Ananta Krishna, who is an expert on urban studies, this is the team which constitute the Committee of Concerned Citizens. This is in a way choice of Sankaran, because he being the architect, I don't think that he consulted anyone who should be there, who should not be there. I think over a period of time he thought this 15 members collectively will wield moral power, and whatever respect they command, this collective power, moral power, will make a difference to the civil society of this is the civil societal representatives of Telangana who were included in this entire Committee of Concerns. Now, what was the major formulation of Sankaran about the Naxals and government? I am quoting Sankaran from our report. The committee has taken a stand the state must abide by rule of law and shall in no case transgress the law, which alone gives it the moral and legal legitimacy and sanction to hold the reins of power. This is what the state should be. Rule of law is not just a weapon in the hands of the state, but also restraint on behavior of the state. On the other hand, the Naxalites must also adhere to the higher human values and human concerns through their theory and practice, and only this can provide legitimacy and justification in the eyes of the people for any revolutionary movement. So holding Naxals on the moral ground, saying that you must observe higher human standard if you are a revolutionary movement, holding the state that you are legally accountable. So this is the equation. So throughout the peace talks, or throughout our 10 years, but this is what continuously we were, whenever we met Naxalites, we said that what are your standards, what are your values, what are the values you want to uphold. You tell us what values you want to uphold, but you must have human concern. And Sankaran repeatedly said there should not be loss of human life. Every human being is valuable. And we went on telling the Naxalite, killing human beings is not good, and telling the state that killing people is against the very, purpose of the state. See, this whole, dialogue between them are, the committee believes, this is what Sankaran said, the committee believes that it is possible to find long-term direction for a democratic restructuring of society, which alone can completely address many of the questions which are being faced by the people. The committee seeks to take the people-centric view of the situation and locate itself in a transformative paradigm, the location of the Committee of Concerned Citizens. Primarily, the committee is committed to democratic and human rights and humane objectives which inspired our freedom struggle and which are inscribed in the preamble, the fundamental rights and directive principles of the Indian Constitution. Thus, providing the best starting point for the political and institutional processes to work continuously for social transformation. Now he located Naxalite movement and the state in a transformative paradigm and keep on telling the state that what is the mandate of people and the constitution to you? What is the mandate? And you are supposed to carry the mandate of the constitution. And the constitution wants the state to transform the society. And again he will tell the revolutionary movement that what is the revolution for? Revolution is to transform the society, because there is a difference between terrorism and rebellion and revolution. Rebellion dismantles a system, terrorism frightens the society, but revolution is supposed to be transforming the society. That's the difference between a rebel and a revolutionary. So this, he went on constantly, if you are a revolutionary movement, you must transform the society. If you are to transform the society, what they should be your approach. And what Committee of Concerned Citizens feel about the transformative process. Now, the another attempt with this some sort of objectives, when the committee started working, Sankaran always believed that we should always go to the people. We should not confine our target with the state, and we should never get stuck between the state and Naxals. It's the people. Unless people are convinced, unless people support our task, we will not succeed. If we can create a public opinion, if we create a widespread public support, we will succeed. That's why frequently, when we started, first thing we have done is to go to the villages. All 15 of us, a big van, Jivan will arrange a big van, and all of us will go. And since Sankaran commanded a lot of respect, somebody will give a guest house, collectors always came forward to help us. And we'll go to the villages and see the victims of both of Naxal movement and also the state. I think Jivan was narrating one of this. When you go there, you talk to them. After almost a year we have done this job. Then prepared a report about the victim families and what is happening and all that. And Sankaran said, let us prepare a first report. So we prepared a first report about the suffering of people and what is happening, what are the violations taking place. And Sankaran said, now we will finalize the report and go to the people again. Present the report to the people and let's say this is our work. And then at that time we sought a sort of meeting with the Naxals, and Naxals then said that they are prepared to talk to us. This opened up the entire space. If they said, no, who are you? And why are you interfering in our work? If they asked the question, they come to Ramkala, but they did do, and they didn't even, thought that it would be good for them to dismiss this committee, which constitutes the 15 people who matter in the civil society. So I think somewhere they were convinced of Sankaran's, Kanaviran was there, Tarakam is there, Puttur Venkateshwara is there, all of us are there. The Revolutionary Party thought this is a group worth talking to. I think this was very important. And then we met the party leaders and talked to them for 2 days, trying to persuade them, mindfully trying to ask us questions. And of course, all three of them, we met them in 1998-99, they were killed. It was a serious setback to the peace talks, very serious setback, because they were top leaders. After the leaders were killed, the People's Party and also People's Liberation Guerrilla, that was the time when they said, now we need an army, because our leaders are killed. But in spite of the leaders being killed, People's War said that talks will continue. They said we are going out, getting out of it. No, they said they will continue. And then we, after talking to them, we sought an appointment with Chandrababu Naidu. And Chandrababu Naidu, went and talked to him, and then we tried to persuade. Chandrababu, as usual, said that if they, if we can help the people, if the violence can come down, we are one of those who, no chief minister can say that, I will not talk, no, we'll finish them. Although they believed in them, but they never could say that. Now, once Chandrababu also gave a positive signal, then we started talking to the government and but in 2002, again we had a serious setback. As the talks were progressing, there was another important, leaders being killed. That was again a serious setback, and because their leader was killed, the People's War Party said will take revenge against Chandrababu Naidu, and they attacked him near Tirupati. The chief minister being attacked. Now naturally, committee of consensus is just, you just don't know how to react. And that led to Chandrababu Naidu dissolving the assembly and going for elections before the, a month before the term was over. And Chandrababu Naidu in the 2004 elections said that if we come to power, we'll put down the entire Naxal movement very firmly. This is what he said. Then, once he has taken that position, Congress Party, they have taken a position, no, if you vote for us, we will go for peace talks. It was a part of the manifesto of the Congress Party. And 2004 elections literally were fought on peace talks. While Congress saying we'll go for peace talks, Chandrababu saying we'll put down the movement. And people gave the mandate to the Congress Party. This made the very qualitative difference as far as the peace talks are concerned, because now the Committee of Concerned Citizens felt this is the mandate for the committee, for the state, and for the Revolutionary Party. Now, after the 2004 election, again we went to the People's War Party, and then we said, this is mandate, not only this is mandate to you. Because since elections were fought on the peace talks, and people preferred peace talks, now you can't ignore the public opinion. Then the Revolutionary Party said, no, we are willing for talks, because now they said that this is also a mandate for us. But in the beginning of the peace talks, when we went and discussed with the People's War Party, they said there's no space for talks. Why? They said, number one, America is very aggressive. Imperial power is very aggressive. Look at the way they are behaving in Iraq, Iran and all that. And two, Advani is the Home Minister, who are opposed to the peace talks. And Chandrababu Naidu, who is the friend of World Bank and implementing the model, there is no space. Given the formidable nexus between imperial power, feudal power and the local power, they said there is no space. But after the 2004 election, then America got a setback and BJP lost the election, Chandrababu Naidu lost the election. We went and told them that formidable nexus is broken. They said no, now space open. We agree that there is a space for the peace talks and will come for peace talks. And once they agreed, our burden has increased enormously because both are willing to talk. Rajshekar Reddy, after swearing, and next day he said, we'll go for peace talks. That is the first statement Chief Minister made. And then, of course, Naxals also were willing to talk. Then Rajshekar Reddy took a position that if they agree to the talks, and then the state will, and then Rajshekar also said there will not be any precondition for peace talks. This is also very important. He said there will not be any precondition for peace talks. He told me in an interview with the journalist that there will be no preconditions. And then, how the peace talks should be held? The modalities, formalities, they coming and sitting with the government. So this entire burden, the state said that Committee of Concerned Citizens should act mediators and work out the modalities. Then we sat, and then we have to work the modalities, and then of course we told the government that first you lift the ban on people's power, because you can't talk to a illegal group. State can't talk to an unlawful group. Then of course, Home Minister Jana Reddy was very keen on peace talks. But for him, I'm afraid peace talks would not have taken place. He is a low-head, relatively perhaps a little more honest in politics. And he was the one who wrote a letter to the People's War when it was still, ban was there. Home Minister writing a letter to a revolutionary party when it's a ban. But he said, no, doesn't matter. He written a letter asking, inviting them for peace talks. And the party also has informed that they would come for peace talks. Then of course, who should be the mediators? How will the talks will be held? Then of course, all the formalities have been worked out. And then they came for peace talks on the 15th October 2004. May the elections are held, October peace talks are held. But the difference is that May, to the whole situation, the elections. And the mandate that the people gave. In the peace talks, where the first day, the Naxalite People's War came and said, our nomenclature has changed. We have joined the MCC of Bihar, and therefore now we are called CPI Maoists. No, any longer People's War. That completely they dropped. They became now CPI Maoists. So they said, from today, you should address as the Maoists, not as the People's War. This was the first day. But anyway, when the talks opened, obviously there are a lot of hiccups from both the sides. And then the state said, Sankaran should handle this entire thing. They said, you are our representative. Then the, of course, Maoists also said that Sankaran will be the, and then, of course, Maoist party suggested 5 names from the Committee of Concerned Citizens. It included Sankaran, Kanaviran, and myself, Professor, were the 5 members. Kanaviran, Putul Venkateswarao, Sankaran, myself, and our Tarak. We were the 5. From their side, there were 3 ministers and 2 Congress people, 5 of them, 5 here this side, and 5 of them, 2 Janashakti representatives, 3 people who are Maoist party representatives sitting. First day itself, how the meeting should be held, then Varvar Rao and Gandhar, who are the emissaries of the people's war, to work out the initial stages, then we said, since the two parties are meeting, so the neutral should preside over the entire conduct of the peace talks. We don't want the Home Minister to chair the session. They categorically told. Then, of course, the Home Minister said, no, Sankaran will. Then the Maoists also said, yes, Sankaran is that. So then Sankaran was chairing the proceedings. Whenever there is some conflict, some tension or whatever, Sankaran has to resolve. See, this confidence in a person who has been a part of the state, right? And that complete trust of the Maoist party in Sankaran and also the state. And then, of course, Sankaran suggested ban should be lifted on People's Maoist party. Ban was lifted. Ban was lifted on the suggestion. Although Home Minister was a little apprehensive, then let us say Sankaran, you come and talk to Chief Minister. Then Sankaran and Home Minister went, all of us were sitting, they went to the Chief Minister, asking him to lift the ban on the Maoist party. They lifted the ban, because they can't come for peace talks if they are under ban. So they came, and first day this presiding that is over, then the formalities and demands. So there was some 7 points governing the conduct of both the people during the peace talk. So the beginning of the peace talks is Sankaran suggested, and of course all of us agreed, that there should be a ceasefire between the Maoist party and state. Ceasefire where nobody should fire from any side, number one. And number of conditions. That there are 7 conditions, people's war, the Maoist party should not harass anybody, should not. Now in this whole thing, one thing that becomes extremely difficult, perhaps only people with such a massive experience like Sankaran can handle, is the moving. They said ceasefire. If we have to announce a ceasefire, both of them agreed, and ceasefire is for 3 months, for a prescribed period. Nobody should use weapons, nobody should use violence. Both the sides agreed. Now, on the first day, the Maoist party insisted that there should be a formal agreement on ceasefire between the government and Maoist party, not the Naxal parties, two parties. Government was hesitant. Government said, we can't sign a ceasefire treaty. And Naxals insisting that you have to sign. Otherwise, there is no validity of the peace talks. If you have to observe ceasefire, there has to be a formal agreement. They were insisting. State, then Kanna being a lawyer, Tarakam being a lawyer, they were suggesting that they said, even if there is an agreement, if somebody boils, what can you do? So except trust, no formal agreement will work. So let us have trust in each other. Then when Home Minister said that there should be trust, then Ramakrishna, RK, who was representing the Maoist party, he said, we don't, we are not saying that we don't trust individuals. But you yourself said that number of forces are obstructing the peace talks. Who are these obstructionists? And RK said, these obstructionists are the character of the state. You don't decide as individuals. They are the people who are the real power builders. That's why he said that since you are talking of the obstructionists, and obstructionists may succeed in destroying the peace talks, is what he said. Obstructionists may destroy the peace talks. And secondly, he also said in the course of discussion that since now the neoliberal model is being implemented and Chandrababu Naidu has to use enormous violence because of the model of development that he opted for. Now since the model is still there, so the complete state stopping violence may not be possible for a period of time. State will resort to violence because that's the necessity of the state. Now, not the necessity, but the necessity of the model of development. And that's what exactly happened. What happened is that the neoliberal model, as it started unfolding itself, and the very nature of the state has undergone a very significant change. Not the nature of state where Aruna, Harsh, they left. That was not the time they left, because of the neoliberal model. They left at the terrible limitation in the office and the state, and therefore they thought we should work with the people. And that's how both of them have, left the civil service. Sankaran, I don't know about Aruna, but definitely about Harshmandir, Sankaran said, no, Harshmandir is taken wrong decision. Initial response was, it's a wrong decision, we can do a lot. But after he left civil service and when he started taking up the issues, peace and justice in Gujarat and the orphan children, and then Sankaran said, Harshmandir's decision was the right decision. He thought that his decision was right. He is now able to do much better work than what he would have been able to do if he continued as a civil servant. That was not such a... But still, morally they felt compelled, and they didn't perhaps find that much of space as Sankaran found, because he belonged to little senior generation, still thinks politics still had certain, positive dimension. But now the neoliberal model of development has become so repressive that we can't even think of, peace talks. But still, I'm just saying what were the tensions. But two issues that came up, after that I'll stop. Two issues that came up during the peace talks. One was the restoration of democratic rights. Second was land reforms. There were other points, but these are the two issues. One day democratic rights, one day land reforms. For third day itself, the signals were that talks were breaking down, because already signals started coming that, and the police and they were putting a lot of pressure on the Home Minister, and Home Minister started indicating that there are certain problems. But the democratic rights, the Maoist party demanded is that first stop encounters. Second, they said that there should not be price on the heads of the people. Because of that, they are doing false encounters, so stop that. And then chasing our activists and going and arresting people, that you stop. And just go by the rule of law. From our side, we will not use the arms, and we will not touch anybody. We will not. And then as long as state observes, will observe. This was agreed between both the parties, that they should not use violence of any form. But then the issue came up about the moving with arms. This was the critical issue. Even I don't think we had any clue. On the one hand, government saying, okay, we will do all this, but lay down the arms. And the Maoist party argument was, once we promise that we will not use our arms as long as there is a ceasefire, what is your problem? They said no state can allow any group to move with arms. It's an unlawful thing. And these people said, but how many people are moving in the Rayalaseema factions move with weapons? Your killer gangs are moving with weapons. Only you are finding a problem with our weapons, but what about those who are moving in the society with weapons? See, you are insisting on laying down arms because you are afraid that we may use. We are promising we will not use the arms. But if you want us to completely dissolve, that's not the purpose of talks. They said this weapon is important because you invite us down because of the weapon. See, but otherwise you would have not invited these talks. So they said, once we have issued, you trust us, we will not use the arms. But if we don't move with the arms, there are a number of killer gangs the state has unleashed. And if the killer gangs come start killing us, what can we do? Will the state completely prevent the killer gangs from using the weapon? Do we have that much of control over them? Because we have already unleashed with them. So this problem went on, and of course the state asking them to lay down the arms, and they saying that arms are needed, and their one argument was that there will be counter-violence as long as there is a structural violence. And the structural violence cannot be completely transformed through a very peaceful means. This is what they believe. Once I think myself, Harshmandir, we were speaking in one of the Delhi colleges, there was a debate. Harsh, there is complete, non-violent methods, complete peaceful methods. But it's true, these are the convictions of many of us that, weapons should, the gold should be reduced. But then these are the problems which we do not have any solution. So we do not know how to get out of the whole thing. But then talks were not struck with that. But the next day we said, all right, this problem you for the time being will postpone, and then we'll talk the other issues. And then came the question of land reforms, and they came with huge data on the land reforms, and they presented a report to the state that while land has been distributed in China, South Korea, Japan, knowing this note they said, and 48% of land has been distributed, whereas in Andhra Pradesh or in India only 2% of land has been distributed. Why land reforms have been carried in spite of you pass the land? They also argue that you pass a land reforms law in 1972 after the our movement started. In fact, they said the land reform is a result of our struggle. That's what they were claiming. Whether that was completely true or not, but they said this is one of the claims they made. So the land reforms came as a result of the struggle of the people. Now they said that this has led to, now the Maoist party said, what is the commitment of the state? Then Home Minister and the group of ministers said, we'll constitute a high power commission on land and we'll go for land reforms. And they constituted a committee, a Kone Rangaro committee, and then Raju, now who is with the Congress party, one of the very honest IAS officer, he was the secretary for believing land reforms. So therefore they said that this commission will go into the land reform, and then we will see that the land is distributed. One of the estimates is that they located 10 lakhs acres of land, but about 5 lakhs of acres of land, I think, was distributed as a result of these talks. But from third day onwards, Chief Minister, I think, was putting some pressure on these ministers and his representatives, and the talks were getting completely diluted, and Home Minister was giving enough of signals that there is a lot of pressure on him not to go ahead with the talks. At one stage, almost there was a rumor that these chaps may be shot. And all the people, Kanna knew that the state can't do, but Putturi was disturbed. He had a sleepless night, think that what will happen, they have come on our promise. But anyway, the Home Minister said, I'll take them, I'll go to the forest, till they enter the forest, I take the responsibility. But the third day, the Home Minister started saying, we'll have next round of talks after 1 month. And then we will work out more modalities, and then we'll see that how to go about. Now once he said second round of talks, of course with that note, they left. After they left, that is 18th October 2004, 19th October 2004, Rajshekar Reddy made a statement that there will not be any talks unless they lay down the arms. This was the position of the Chief Minister. And Maoist party said, arms will be there till society, fair and just society is created, and till society is transformed, we will have our own weapons. There, the peace talk stops, and the violence, cycle of violence comes back. Comes back in a very massive way, where I think lots of people have been killed on both the sides. And Sankaran, I think, was completely disturbed. I have seen Sankaran in his most exciting moments and most frustrating moments. I have seen him. Because when Maoist party left the forest without arms when they came home, in fact that day, Harsh, you won't believe, I went to see him, and Sankaran was busy, you can't believe, and singing. In the kitchen, he started singing. He was so excited that they have come out, talks will lead to some, positive result. This is what he believed. And therefore he was extremely happy. But when talks broke down, and when violence came back, I think it has cut short his life. One, of course, Kanna's health cut short his life. because what Vasant was narrating, you know, Vasant, after Kanna's that amputation, you said it was covered so that Sankaran would not. But yeah, what you said in the morning, he went and suddenly, you know, when he saw, he left home. Immediately he left the home and came back. When I saw him, he was in utter shock. He said, sir, what happened? Then he said, you know, Kanna's getting amputated. I also couldn't believe, because Kanna, that we have seen, I would just believe. But Sankaran was under that shock for a very long time. And this failure of peace talks was another thing he was continuously regretting. And then he said that we'll write final report and present to the people. The report was prepared, and that is the search for democracy and negotiating for peace. That report was printed, 2,000 copies were printed. And this 2,000 copies, 1,000 in Telugu, Sankaran had 60,000 savings in his account. And he gave 60,000. I said, sir, keep some money, all of us will keep. He said, I will not have the right to ask till I have some money in my bank account. This was his position. And some of us gave, it was about 1,30,000. All of us contributed. These reports were brought. And Sankaran every day will go to the post office to post them to the district collectors, all district collectors. And every day, and post office people started saying, sir, every day you bring 10 copies, bring the bulk, and we will post. We promise you that every day, as you say, that we will post 10 copies. Then our driver took 100 copies, wanted the post office. Post office people started posting those things. But this interest that the bureaucracy should know that this work has been done, this is possible. This is what, which he believed. And of course, to all the members of parliament, he posted a copy to all members of parliament. But his disappointment was nobody even thought of writing a letter on the report. He was not even acknowledged. He was very unhappy with that. During this period, it was announced that Sankaran was awarded Padma Bhushan. I was an eyewitness. That both of us were working on the report. Pothur Venkatesh Rao rang me up, saying that you go and congratulate Sankaran. Then I said, no sir, I am with Sankaran. Congratulate him. I said, what happened? Sankaran got Padma Bhushan. So I said, sir, I understand you got Padma Bhushan. He said, no. No, I think Puturi heard wrongly. This is what he said. Then telephones started coming, one after the other, one after the other. The phone was continuously ringing. People all over India congratulating him for Padma Bhushan. Then I asked Sankaran, sir, you said no, but how come that so many people? He said, look, after you came, I was debating with myself whether to tell you or not to tell you. That they asked, I declined. This, he said, once I declined, why should I tell you that? No, I got the award. This is what he thought. But once it was public, he told me that, no, see, for last 2 hours I am debating. But now since out, he said, Home Ministry rang me up. And I said, no. I already told them. Therefore, I thought they would not announce. But the news went to the media month before Sankaran declined. Because they thought, no, nobody would decline Padma Bhushan. That was the confidence. Then media, 20, 30 channels. Sankaran went up to the door and said with folded hands, please, don't trouble me. I have no reason. I don't give you any explanation or anything. I am not just inclined to accept. That's all. No further. Many of my friends got. So I do not want. Now after he persuaded the media, they went. Then Sankaran was worried that since he declined, but what would dear Shankar think because he accepted Padma Bhushan? What would so and so think that they accepted? Would they think that my refusal will hurt them, or my they think that I have insulted them. See, this was his concern. What other colleagues, his close friends, who accepted Padma Bhushan. But then he said, no, I'm not inclined to accept. The reason why he declined is the failure of the peace talks. Now, of course, maybe he would have agreed. But he was unhappy in the state, and when he came and gave a lecture in our university to my 200 students, one of the students asked him, sir, who is responsible for failure of peace talks? Sankaran said, the government. He said, absolutely, I have no clue, with the government. Now, that experiment of peace talks and the pressure that a civil society can exert, that still you can bring two contending parties to the discussion table and discussion on some of the questions that are troubling the society, like land reforms and democratic rights. Sankaran, or at least all of us think, because I wrote an article, I used to joke on my article, because in Telugu it looks a little poetic, my title. Churchalu agina, sagina, charitrikamalti. Then he would say, agina, sagina, let's stop and continue. This he would carry on musically, he would humorously tell me, agina, sagina. But then, the experiment, a person like Sankaran, who contributed to this experiment, will always remain as one of the shining examples that a revolutionary movement in the state can talk. There is a possibility. He saw that now, perhaps from tomorrow, we have a major, get together of different movements. Perhaps ultimately, if peace has to come, it has to come from the society, from the people. It will not come from the state, it will come from the people. But unfortunately, we realize here, there is no vibrant civil society in Chhattisgarh, even in Orissa, where I was handling 2 kidnaps. There is no civil society. B.D. Sharma, such a legendary, another legendary ex-officer, we were there for about 4, 5 to 6 days in Chhattisgarh. Nobody ever came to see him. So many people worked with him. But nobody came, not even a single officer. And B.D. Sharma is not an ordinary officer, he's an exceptional officer. People feel like going and meeting. But nobody came. B.D. Sharma was like, koi aa raha hi nahi milne ke liye. Nobody was, either they thought it was risky to meet him at that point of time, or they had their own reasons. But there is no civil society. If something like that were to happen in Telangana, a number of people would have gone and met. Because there is a vibrant civil society as a result of tribal struggles. There is a separate state movement, Naxal movement, armed struggle. Telangana has a long history, which has led to the emergence of a very vibrant civil society. But now, how do we create a vibrant civil society? How do we create a strong public opinion which can intervene between the state and movements of this kind? I think that's the historical challenge before Indian society. I thank Aruna, Harshmandar, some 3 of them, for me, are such an admirable persons. When Harsh sent a message that I should give this talk, neither I have the courage to accept nor to refuse. Courage because he is the lecturer in memory of Sankaran. And therefore I was little hesitant. But the people who ask are equally, they have an outstanding, and I respect each one of them. Now 3 of them, when they ask you, you can't say no. I hope whatever little trust, a little bit of that is conveyed today to this lecture. This written form perhaps will be able to set like what Sankaran has done, to distribute it to different people. But thank you, Aruna, Harsh, and Vasan, presiding this session is a real honor. She is a real honor because she is one of the very close persons to Sankaran, whom he loved and respected. The entire family loved them and respected. Even Ketan and Siddhi, Ramya, he used to respect them. And they treat them as equal. He used to play with them all the games that they wanted him to play. So I used to see him usually playing the game, talking to Vasan on, the higher challenges and all that, talking to Kanna, you Sankaran, and talking to Kalpana, who is equally and irresistible, and Chitra, who is a scientist. a little, I'm a silent person but very keen observer. I think this family, therefore, is so close to his heart that one of the family members person should come and chair this session. Is a real honor to Sankaran and also honor to me for presiding this session. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Mr. Nikhil will propose a vote of thanks briefly. Please bear with us.
Very brief. Just the time that all of you have spent for this extraordinary evening, because I think Mr. Sankaran, even so many years later, exudes that, to use the term, the fragrance that Mr. Sankaran has, lives on to that extent that everyone, really each one, I think there must be in this room many, many more stories apart from the ones that we have also heard. Some stories that people directly know, some stories that people have heard from others, some versions of these stories that people have heard. And I think that collection, that one researcher should really be encouraged, and many more should come, so that we can, whatever we've heard today, have more of that in written form, have more of that through memorial lectures, have more of that. I have heard many memorial lectures, but I think today's evening was so touching to both the person and the thoughts and what that person represented. That combination is very, very rare. They're very wonderful people, but these extraordinary combination of thoughts that come together, and each one of you really, so firstly for the people who sat, really great thank you to ourselves for being here, but in such sincerity. Vasanta ji representing an entire family, because we've heard the whole family over and over again, and the family beyond a family, I think, as well. Of course, Professor Hargopal, wonderful set of things. I think the most difficult part, perhaps the biggest project of, if you call it a project, mission of his life, and the most difficult one, so beautifully brought out. Brought out also that there never is a choice except to try and talk. And from whatever it does something, and that term itself of your report, in search of democratic space, it's what we will always search for, no matter what. So thank you for that. Jeevan Garu is way beyond logistics, clearly, but all of us connect with Mr. Sankaran and the three organizations who carry, I mean, I'm also a part of them, but thank you to everyone in Hyderabad. It's wonderful to come here to talk about Mr. Sankaran. In these recordings, I think, will last in many ways and go much further, because it's very special to be here with very close and special people who loved Mr. Sankaran, respected Mr. Sankaran, and have learnt and have a bit of Mr. Sankaran in them. So thank you very, very much. As they go down, if we can just give it to them. Yeah.
Amar Rahe Sir Sankaran.
So as everyone's going to go, I don't want to take more time, but I want to say that there is a campaign going on. There's on killing the RTI, something Mr. Sankaran was very close to when we came to Telangana. I just want to mention it, whoever feels like listening, because I don't want to take extra time. But there's a law that's come that has amended the RTI in a terrible way, and it is going to make the using of information in any way at all very, very difficult. So where you all have left your names and registration, we will send a note to you. Please do have a look at that note. We will try and make sure that the note also goes in Telugu to anyone who's left their name or WhatsApp number or email ID, and please do leave it on your way out. And it it is really not just the end of RTI, but it's a very difficult thing for all journalists, for all anti-corruption activists, for all people who work in public interest, because of the way that the RTI has been amended, where after this you will not be able to use or ask for the name of any person or any identification with a person, and you cannot do that even in public domain in terms of journalism or anything else. So we'll send that note.